Senator Tolentino, briefly, Senator Pimentel.
Mr. President, while I still have the floor, can I request for some information from the Senate President, especially regarding the impeachment calendar that
The
is
gentleman may proceed.
because you issued the first impeachment calendar was issued by the Senate President when we were already on break. I mean, Mr. President, tama po yun, di ba?
That is correct.
So, Mr. President, may we know when His Honor issued the first legislative calendar, impeachment calendar, which fixed June 2 as the time for receiving the House prosecutors, may we know the basis of the authority of the Senate President when he issued the first impeachment calendar, Mr. President?
Article 1 of the impeachment rules, which says that the Senate President can set the date for the presentation of the articles of impeachment. Mention was made specifically of the Senate President. And also we were on recess. So the Senate President at that time, Your Honor, issued a suggested calendar of activities. I was very clear when I stated that. Subject to plenary approval when we resume, because you were already on recess at that time. The second notice sent by this representation was made also while we were on recess. And I also stated that it was subject to plenary approval and or reversal, as the case may be, given the load that we need to take up after the LEDAC meeting.
So, yes, Mr. President, I noticed that no one from the majority was complaining about the original or initial impeachment calendar issued by the Senate President. So we were all looking forward to the date where there should be some action on the impeachment, which is
Yes.
June 2.
Supposedly, yes.
Yes, supposed to be. Kaninang 4 o'clock yung the prosecutors from the House of Representatives should have appeared before us to read the articles of impeachment. But then this was changed. So from June 2, changed by the Senate President also, now
June 11.
it's June 11 at 4 p.m. So if the authority used to issue the original calendar was based on the fact that we were on break, now that we are not on break, could not have the Senate President waited for 3 p.m. and then we discussed moving the June 2 4 p.m. to June 11 4 p.m.?
Because, Your Honor, notice had to be given to the House with respect to the proposed change in schedule. And we could not decide on moving it after the House members are already here in the Senate. That was the reason behind it.
That was His Honor's judgment call, Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. President. Yes, Your Honor.
Just on another matter, Mr. President, yung appearance ba ng House prosecutors ay nasa Senate impeachment rules or you just took this from American practice, Mr. President?
It is not in the rules. That was lifted from American practice because what was done before was that the majority leader,
Yes.
the Senate majority leader, was the one that read the articles of impeachment that was referred to the Committee on Rules that triggered the convening of the impeachment court. When we researched on it, we thought it was more proper, given that we should have no part in it, in the impeachment trial, in the prosecution of the impeachment case, that the prosecutors should themselves read the articles of impeachment, as is the practice in the United States, where we lifted most of our impeachment rules.
So it's an innovation. But although, had we done it, hindi naman, I don't think it would be fatal or make the proceedings infirm. So it's just not, to use the term of the majority leader, textually required under the existing Senate impeachment rules. Hindi pa ba?
No. What was required by our rules, if at all, was the referral of the impeachment complaint in plenary. Because mere filing with the Secretary General does not often by itself operate as the receipt by the Senate in plenary, given that, as with any communication, it has to be referred in plenary, officially by the Senate as a body.
Mr. President, Sige, Mr. President,
Mr. President, with the permission,
Senator Tolentino is recognized.
Minority
What is your
Leader.
pleasure, sir?
would the loaded question of the good Minority Leader, if decoded, would mean that should the presentment be made before the Senate sitting as a plenary, or should the presentment be made before the Senate constituted as an impeachment court? Baka yun po yung tanong nyo.
but it was it was the Senate President to research on American practice. How do they do? How do they
plenary.
do it in the United
In
States?
plenary, Your Honors, not as an impeachment court. Because again, mere receipt by the section does not operationalize or start the process of impeachment. Any communication, and that is a communication from the House, must be referred by plenary to the appropriate committee for proper action. That in turn will now trigger, if at all, the convening of the impeachment court, where the regular processes would now be followed, such as the issuance of summons, etc., etc.
May we know the rule, Mr. President, that it
I'm
should
sorry?
be? May we know what the specific rule is? That in the rules, or is that by practice or costumbre? Tingnan niyo ano rule.
Under Rule 3, Paragraph 2, upon presentation of the articles to the Senate shall specify the date and time for the consideration of the articles.
Yes, but
So the articles need to be presented to the Senate.
yes, but so your honor is reading our Senate impeachment rules.
Yes.
Correct. So when we use the Senate in the Senate impeachment rules, we're talking about, we could be talking about the Senate as the impeachment court. Because
We
it's the
have-
Senate.
And by virtue of the procedure in Articles 1 to 3, we have not yet convened the court, Your Honor. For example, succeeding rules in our impeachment rules, 4 onwards, would pertain to the Senate already as an impeachment court, because that is already the trial proper, beginning with the issuance of summons.
Mr. President, the second sentence already contradicts his honor, because it says, second sentence of that second paragraph of Rule 3, unless the Senate provides otherwise, it shall continue in session from day to day. Session na yan as court. Kasi until final judgment eh. Yun na yun eh. So, the use of, when we use Senate in the Senate impeachment rules, we refer to the Senate as the court.
Mr. President,
According to the Secretariat, Your Honor, the dividing line is when we take our oath as senator judges and convene as such. Because we will be wearing 2 hats, Your Honor. As senators, performing our legislative and legislative function, and as members of the impeachment court, performing our sui generis function. And these are 2 distinct, if at all, hats and functions that we would be performing. That's why we have to adjourn session and convene as an impeachment court, and vice versa if we want to revert back as a plenary.
Well, Mr. President, ano na lang, for so as to
Mr. President,
our staff can revisit. Ito yung sentence natin, ano? Second paragraph of Rule 3 of the Senate impeachment rules. Upon presentation of the articles to the Senate shall specify the date and time for the consideration of such articles. Unless the Senate provides otherwise, it shall continue in session from day to day until final judgment shall be rendered, and so much longer as may in its judgment be necessary. So, are we using the word Senate in one paragraph in 2 concepts? One as Senate, legislative body, and the other as the court?
I believe so, Mr.
Correct.
President, Your Honor. But again,
So,
since these manifestations, also the manifestation made by our distinguished majority floor leader himself earlier, after these manifestations are made, these matters and these statements will be referred to the Committee on Rules for them to look into it. We have time, Your Honor, to resolve this matter in due course in the next couple of days.
Mr. President,
Yes,
if I can direct this question to the good minority leader. The Senate, even if not acting as an impeachment court, pwede po bang tumanggap ng mga non-members of this chamber to speak or make a presentation, presentment? Di po ba naaalala natin ng mga nakaraang panahon, pumupunta rito yung President of Vietnam, if I'm not mistaken. Distinguished guests of this chamber are allowed to speak, not just honored. Ganun po ba yung sinasabi nyo? Na baka are the members of the House, though constituted as panel of prosecutors, can they enter the Senate, this chamber, constituted as a plenary or as an impeachment court or both? Pag pinapayagan ng Senado. Baka ganun po siguro ang gustong malaman ng ating minority leader.
Just for the information of the majority leader, yung appearance of the House prosecutors before the Senate kanina sanang 4 o'clock, June 2, appeared in the impeachment calendar prepared by the Senate President. Hindi ako may idea nun. At saka, when we read our Senate impeachment rules, wala din dun yun.
So they will
That's
be
why-
appearing
that's why-
before an impeachment court.
That's why this is the request for information. Now, what did the Senate President have in mind when he scheduled this for June 2? And I think it's clearly, since 4 p.m. siya, it's clearly an appearance before Senate,
yes.
the plenary session of the Senate.
Again, the
Yes.
basis is U.S. practice. That is how they do it in the United States, where we lifted portions of our own impeachment rules. That's where it came from. Practice and precedents in the United States.
And per our legislative rules, we can waive the rules so that we
can
allow
suspend the
non-members
rules to allow
speak. Di ba dito, recently, nagsalita rin si former UN Secretary
Korean,
General.
South Korean.
Huh?
The South Korean.
Yes, that's UN Secretary General. So
That can be
so we
allowed.
can do it. Yes.
Again, that can be allowed. Again, plenary action is necessary, and the plenary will decide on this matter.
So just a few more requests for information, Mr. President. So, Mr. President, His Honor, around 4 days ago, sent notice that the June 2, 4 p.m. appearance of the panel of prosecutors will be moved to June 11, 4 p.m.
Yes.
So, okay. Now, what is now the calendar that His Honor has in mind? Kasi dati meron kang June 2, 4 p.m. appearance, then June 3, morning, we convene the Senate as an impeachment court. So where is that? Where is this convening now? Where is it now when you move the appearance to June 11?
Sabay na po, because by that time, by June 11, wala na rin po tayong hinahabol na kailangan i-second or i-approve kung meron man, ratification na lamang ng mga bicameral conference committee reports. And we will be doing both at the same time. If at all, the reading of the articles of impeachment, the referral to the Committee on Rules, the convening of the impeachment court, if at all again, the oath of the senator judges, if at all again, all that we can do as an impeachment court would be to issue summons.
Yes. Oh,
Requiring the respondent to answer within 10 days.
but were we sent notices na ganun ang mangyayari?
I'm sorry?
Were the senators sent notices or informed that after the appearance of the House panel of prosecutors, there's a possibility that we will convene as a court? Para ready kami.
Wala pa.
Wala pa nga po. Kaya malapit
pa.
na po yung June 11.
Wala pa naman talaga eh. Kasi nung pinadala yung notice na yun, it was addressed, if you notice, it was addressed to the House that they will be presenting the articles of impeachment on that date. The notice insofar as the impeachment court itself is concerned, these discussions would be very helpful, Your Honor, because this will be part of how the Senate as a body will be deciding on what to do after the articles of impeachment shall have been read and presented before the body.
Yes, but Mr. President, nung in-issue kasi ninyo yung impeachment calendar last February, at least you were that detailed na sinabi niyo na po yung convening of the impeachment court. Ngayon sana po, nung dinifer si June to appearance, sana pati po yung convening as an impeachment court, nasabi na rin when that is para may idea.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to clarify. Since that is our last day, this representation has no intentions of actually convening the court, if at all, on another date other than the 11th, unless the Senate as an impeachment court provides otherwise.